The morning sun cast long shadows across the Seoul Emergency Command Center as Minister Kim Tae-ho stared at the massive screens showing Earth's latest disasters. Red zones covered most of Asia where floods had destroyed entire cities. Yellow warning areas spread across Africa, where the deserts grew larger each day. The blue zones marking safe areas kept shrinking. "Sir, we have lost contact with the Australian colonies," reported Park So-young, her voice tight with worry. She had been working for 18 hours straight, like everyone else in the building. The dust storms are too thick for any signals to get through. Kim Tae-ho rubbed his tired eyes. As Earth's Minister of Global Crisis Management, he had watched humanity slide toward extinction for the past 5 years. The climate had broken beyond repair. Ocean levels rose every month. Crops failed in regions that had fed billions for centuries. Even their most advanced technology could not fix what they had done to their planet. "How many people did we lose this week?" he asked, though he dreaded the answer. 2 million in the Pacific floods. Maybe 3 million in the European heat wave. Park So-young replied quietly. The medical systems cannot keep up. Lee Min-woo, Earth's top scientist, entered the room carrying a tablet full of bad news. His white lab coat looked wrinkled and stained from sleepless nights in the research facility. "The fusion reactors are failing faster than we predicted. We might have power for 6 months, maybe less." "And the food production?" Kim Tae-ho already knew this answer would be worse. "The vertical farms in Korea are producing at 30% capacity. The solar collectors are covered in dust most days. We are running out of everything: power, food, clean water, medicine." Lee Min-woo sat down heavily in a chair. "I do not think we can save our species with current technology." The room fell silent, except for the soft humming of computers and the distant sound of emergency sirens from the city below. Everyone in the building knew they were fighting a losing battle. Earth's 8 billion people were slowly dying, and their leaders could only watch it happen. Then something impossible occurred. The lights in the room suddenly changed color, shifting from white to a soft blue glow. The computer screens flickered and displayed patterns that looked like flowing water made of light. A gentle sound filled the air, like wind chimes mixed with distant music. "What is happening to our systems?" Park So-young asked, checking her instruments with shaking hands. Before anyone could answer, 3 figures appeared in the center of the room. They were not human. Their bodies looked like they were made of living crystal that shifted between clear and colored glass. They stood 7 feet tall with long, thin arms that moved like dancers. Where faces should be, swirling patterns of light created expressions that somehow felt familiar and peaceful. The center figure spoke in perfect Korean, though it had no mouth. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere, gentle but powerful. "Greetings, Minister Kim Tae-ho. We are representatives of the Zephyrian Consortium. We have traveled across many stars to meet with your species." Kim Tae-ho struggled to find words. First contact with aliens had always been theoretical, something for movies and books. Now it was happening in his emergency command center while his planet died around them. You can speak our language? We have studied your communications for some time. We know of your crisis. We know your people are suffering. We have come to offer help." Lee Min-woo stood up slowly, his scientist mind racing. "Help? What kind of help?" The alien gestured, and the room filled with holographic displays, showing technology beyond human imagination. Fusion reactors the size of buildings that could power entire continents. Machines that could clean the atmosphere in months instead of decades. Medical devices that could cure any disease. Tools that could grow food in the worst conditions. This technology could save your world. The alien continued. Your people could live in comfort and safety. Your children could see blue skies and clean oceans again. Park So-young stared at the displays with tears in her eyes. "This is real? You can really save Earth?" "Yes, but we require something in return. A fair trade between civilizations." Kim Tae-ho felt his heart beat faster. Nothing in the universe was free. "What do you want from us?" "Your people have a gift for solving complex problems in creative ways. We have studied your computer programmers, your engineers, your inventors. They think differently than other species we have encountered. We would like some of them to come work with us in our development colonies. Work with you? A cultural exchange. Your programmers would help us improve our technology. In return, we share our advanced tools with Earth. Both civilizations benefit and grow stronger together. Lee Min-woo looked at the medical technology displays. How many people would need to go? Perhaps 10,000 of your brightest minds. Volunteers only, of course. They would live comfortably and do meaningful work while Earth heals. The offer seemed too good to be true. Save 8 billion lives in exchange for 10,000 volunteers who would have good jobs and comfortable lives. Kim To thought of his own daughter, studying programming at Seoul National University. She would probably volunteer immediately for a chance to work with such advanced technology. We need time to discuss this with our global council, he said. Of course, but time is short for your planet. Each day of delay means more suffering for your people. The aliens faded away like morning mist, leaving only their words echoing in the quiet room. Within 6 hours, the Global Council had voted. The choice was simple: accept the offer or watch humanity die slowly. The accords were signed in 12 languages, while news broadcasts showed massive storms destroying the last safe cities. Transport ships landed in major capitals around the world. Volunteers lined up by the thousands. Young programmers, brilliant engineers, creative problem solvers who believed they were saving their species through the greatest adventure in human history. As the ships lifted off carrying Earth's best minds toward the stars, celebrations erupted in the streets. Humanity had been saved. The future looked bright again. None of them realized the terrible mistake they had just made. Dr. Lim Ji-won woke up to the sound of metal scraping against metal. The small room around her had no windows, just gray walls and a single door that never opened from the inside. She touched the back of her neck, where something hard and cold had been placed 3 months ago. It hurt when she touched it, sending sharp pain down her spine. She remembered the day she arrived at the Zephyrian station. The aliens had been so kind during the journey from Earth. They showed her comfortable living spaces with soft beds and good food. They talked about the amazing projects she would work on. They promised she would help save both Earth and their civilization. But when the transport ship docked, everything changed. Unit 4-7, Alpha. Report to workstation immediately. A voice spoke directly into her brain to the metal device in her neck. The voice was cold and mechanical, nothing like the gentle aliens who had recruited her. Ji-won stood up from a hard, sleeping mat on the floor. She wore the same gray uniform she had worn for 90 days. It was dirty and torn, but they only gave her a new one every month. Her hands shook as she walked toward the door, which opened automatically when she approached. The hallway outside was filled with other humans, walking like zombies toward their workstations. She recognized Park Hyun-soo, who had been a brilliant programmer at LG Electronics. His eyes were empty now, staring straight ahead as he shuffled past her. A small red light blinked on the device attached to his neck. "Hyun-soo," she whispered, but he did not respond. The device in her own neck sent a sharp shock through her body. She had learned not to talk during movement time. The work area was enormous, filled with thousands of desks arranged in perfect rows. Each desk had a human sitting in front of holographic displays showing computer code. The humans typed constantly, their fingers moving across invisible keyboards floating in the air. Nobody looked up. Nobody spoke. The only sounds were typing and the soft humming of machinery. G1 sat at her assigned desk. The holographic display immediately showed her today's task: write navigation software for Zephyrian military ships. The code was complex, requiring her to solve problems she had never seen before. But her brain felt different now, sharper in some ways but limited in others. She could only think about the work in front of her. Thoughts about home or escape felt fuzzy and distant. At the next desk, Song Miran worked on encryption systems. Ji-won remembered her from Seoul National University, where Miran had been the top student in quantum computing. Now her face was pale and thin, her fingers bleeding from typing for 18 hours each day. Status report from Section 7. A Zephyrian overseer announced to its companion as they walked between the rows of humans. The aliens looked different here than they had on Earth. Instead of beautiful crystal forms, they appeared as dark shadows with glowing red eyes. The human units are producing code 300% faster than expected. Their creative problem-solving abilities exceed our projections. Excellent. How do they compare to the other species? Much superior. The Kethari from Sector 12 can only work with pure mathematics. The Veltorians from the Outer Rim are good with artistic programs but terrible with logic systems. Humans can do everything. Creative solutions, logical thinking, and they adapt quickly to new problems. G1 felt sick hearing them talk about humans like machines. But the device in her neck would not let her feel angry for long. It pushed her emotions down and forced her to focus on the code. Any behavioral issues with the human units? Minimal. The neural implants are working perfectly. They can think about their assigned tasks but cannot concentrate on escape or rebellion for more than a few seconds. Very efficient system. Good. The High Council is pleased with this harvest. How many other species are currently in production? 47 different species across the galaxy, each one selected for their specific mental abilities. The humans are our best find in decades. They combine the mathematical skills of the Kethari with the creativity of the Veltorians. The overseers moved on to inspect other sections. G1 tried to hold on to what she had heard, but the implant made it hard to remember conversations that were not about work. She forced herself to repeat the numbers: 47 species, decades of harvesting, neural implants that control thoughts. During the brief sleep period, she lay on her mat staring at the ceiling. Sometimes in the moments between sleep and waking, her mind felt almost normal. She could remember her life on Earth, her apartment in Seoul, her cat named Bori, her research on artificial intelligence that was supposed to help humanity. But the memories faded quickly, replaced by tomorrow's coding assignments that appeared in her dreams. The implant was learning her thought patterns, making it harder each day to think about anything except work. In the bed next to hers, Baek Sung-ho whispered something so quietly she almost missed it. They made a mistake. Before she could ask what he meant, the sleep cycle ended and the voice in her head commanded her to return to work. But as she walked to her desk, she noticed something strange. Hidden in the margin comments of yesterday's code, Sung-ho had written something that was not part of the assignment. It was a message disguised as programming notes. And somehow, the alien monitoring systems had not detected it. For the first time in 3 months, G1 felt something the implant could not completely suppress. Hope. No, Eun-ji had always been good with numbers, but the numbers she found in the Zephyrian financial system made her feel sick. She stared at the holographic display, showing transaction records that looked like a shopping list. Each entry showed a species name, a planet location, and a price. Humans, Earth Sector 7 to 50,000 credits per unit. Kethari Rigel System, 35,000 credits per unit. Veltorians, Outer Rim Colony, 12 to 42,000 credits per unit. Her hands shook as she scrolled through hundreds of entries. The Zephyrians had not rescued Earth or made a fair trade. They had bought humans like livestock at a market. Worse, she found records going back 50 years showing the same pattern. Find a dying civilization, offer help, take their smartest people, and leave the rest to die slowly. But that was not the worst discovery. In a hidden folder marked Resource Depletion Protocols, she found termination schedules. When a species stopped being useful or became too expensive to maintain, they were eliminated. The Kethari had been scheduled for termination next month. Their mathematical abilities were no longer special enough to justify the cost of feeding them. Eun-ji had to tell the others, but the neural implant made it nearly impossible to communicate during work hours. She waited until the brief rest period, when the monitoring systems were less active. Using her knowledge of cybersecurity, she found a small weakness in the station's maintenance network, a communication channel used by cleaning robots that barely registered on the security scans. She typed a coded message into the cleaning system's log files, hoping Young Woo-jin would see it during his shift in the manufacturing division. 2 days later, she found his response hidden in the same place. I found the same records. We are not the first. Station Alpha Prime has termination chambers. They look like medical rooms, but the records show thousands of aliens were killed there when they were no longer needed. The message made Eun-ji's stomach turn. She remembered the Zephyrian promises about comfortable living and meaningful work. It was all lies. They were slaves waiting to be murdered when they became inconvenient. She expanded the secret communication network carefully. During maintenance periods, she reached out to other humans across the station. Park Jine in the Data Processing Center found the network first. Then Shin Boram from the Communications Department. Soon they had 12 people sharing information through the cleaning robot logs. Youngwoo Jin discovered that his manufacturing work was not just building tools. The Zephyrians were using human creativity to design weapons and control systems for enslaving other species. Every algorithm he wrote helped them capture more civilizations across the galaxy. They made us part of the machine that destroys worlds, he wrote in one message. But maybe we can break the machine from the inside. The idea was dangerous, but simple. If they had to write code for the Zephyrians, they could hide small problems in that code. Not big enough to be detected immediately, but errors that would grow larger over time. Ko Min worked in the propulsion systems division. He began adding tiny mistakes to fuel efficiency calculations. The errors were so small that ships would work normally for months, but eventually the fuel systems would fail during long journeys. On Hee-young handled communication protocols. She introduced delays that would compound over time, causing messages to arrive seconds late. In a civilization dependent on perfect timing, those seconds could cause major problems. The neural implants made it hard to focus on rebellion, but human creativity found ways around the restrictions. They disguised their sabotage as normal programming comments and variable names. The monitoring systems could not tell the difference between legitimate code and hidden rebellion. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Dr. Yu In-ho had been studying the technology the Zephyrians left behind. The fusion reactors worked perfectly, providing clean energy that was healing Earth's damaged atmosphere. But In-ho was suspicious. Technology this advanced should have required instruction manuals and training programs. Instead, it worked automatically, as if it was monitoring itself. He found the surveillance systems hidden deep in the reactor control software. Every reactor was sending data about Earth's military capabilities, population centers, and industrial capacity directly to Zephyrian command servers. The GIF technology was actually an intelligence-gathering operation. They are not our partners, he reported to Minister Kim Tae-ho during a secret meeting in an underground bunker. They are preparing for invasion. The reactors are mapping our defenses and counting our people. Kim Tae-ho felt the weight of his terrible mistake. He had traded Earth's brightest minds for technology that would help the aliens conquer his planet. Can we shut down the reactors? If we do, Earth's power grid collapses and billions die. But if we do not, the Zephyrians will know everything about our world when they arrive. Back on the station, Eun-ji received a coded message that changed everything. Baek Sung-ho had found something in the central computer archives that made her blood freeze. Earth termination scheduled for next year. After they finish mapping our technology and resources, they plan to eliminate all remaining humans. They only need our programmers. Everyone else is waste. The secret network expanded rapidly. Soon they had 47 humans across 5 stations sharing information and coordinating sabotage. The Zephyrians had underestimated human nature. When faced with extinction, humans did not surrender quietly. They planned to show the galaxy that enslaving humanity's brightest minds was the biggest mistake the Zephyrians had ever made. The rebellion was no longer just about freedom. It was about survival. And humans were very good at surviving. Lee Yi-jin looked at the small clock display in the corner of her workstation. 3 minutes until 0347 Galactic Standard Time. Her heart was beating so fast, she worried the neural implant would detect it and sound an alarm. Around her, dozens of other humans sat at their desks typing code as usual. But she knew they were all watching their clocks too. The plan had taken weeks to coordinate through their secret network. Every human programmer across 17 different Zephyrian stations would activate their hidden code at exactly the same moment. Months of careful sabotage, disguised as normal programming, was about to unleash chaos across the alien empire. 2 minutes left. Hong Chong-ho sat 3 rows behind her, working on navigation systems for cargo ships. His fingers moved normally across the holographic keyboard, but he was actually preparing the final sequence that would send Zephyrian supply vessels to random coordinates in empty space. The alien monitoring systems could not detect his real intentions because he was thinking about navigation code, just not the navigation code they wanted. 1 minute left. Im-Soo Jean felt sweat running down her back as she pretended to debug communication protocols. Hidden in her legitimate code were logic bombs that would destroy the slave monitoring network. For just a few minutes, thousands of enslaved beings across the galaxy with clear thoughts without neural implant interference. 30 seconds. Part Jean closed her eyes and took a deep breath. She had written the most dangerous code of all, a virus that would infect the central AI systems controlling Zephyrian technology. It was designed to learn and adapt, becoming stronger each time the aliens tried to remove it. 10 seconds. All across the stations, humans prepared to press the activation keys hidden in their normal work routines. They had one chance. If this failed, they would all be terminated immediately. 0. Yi Jean pressed enter. The effect was immediate and spectacular. Fusion reactors in 3 sectors began experiencing power fluctuations that followed no pattern the Zephyrian computers could understand. The fluctuations were not random. They were creative, like jazz music made of energy that confused the alien logic systems. Changho's navigation virus spread to the cargo network instantly. Supply ships heading to military outposts suddenly changed course toward empty regions of space. Food deliveries meant for slave camps were redirected to abandoned mining stations. Weapons shipments disappeared into black holes. The communication systems began failing in ways that made no sense to Zephyrian technicians. Messages arrived hours late or at wrong destinations. Military commands were replaced with fragments of human poetry that Soo Jean had embedded in the protocols. The aliens' perfect efficiency crumbled into beautiful chaos. But the most devastating attack came from Jean-AS adaptive virus. It entered the central AI network like a living thing, spreading through every connected system. When Zephyrian programmers tried to delete it, the virus learned from their techniques and became harder to remove. It was human creativity turned into digital life, growing stronger with each attempt to kill it. Alarms rang throughout all 17 stations. Emergency lights flashed red as Zephyrian overseers rushed between the human work areas, their crystal forms shimmering with panic. All units ceased programming immediately, the voice commanded through neural implants. But the damage was already spreading beyond their control. Overseer Vexmore materialized in Yi Jean's section, its red eyes scanning the humans who sat calmly at their desks pretending to be confused. The human units have introduced malicious code into our networks, it reported to High Command. System failures are cascading across multiple sectors. How is this possible? The neural implants prevent rebellious thoughts. Unknown. The contamination appears to have been embedded over months. The humans disguise sabotage as legitimate programming. High Command's response was swift and brutal. Every screen in every station displayed the same terrifying image. Earth hanging in space, surrounded by massive Zephyrian warships pointing weapons at the blue planet. Attention, human units. The cold voice spoke directly into their minds. Your sabotage has been detected. All malicious code will be removed immediately, or your homeworld will be destroyed. 8 billion of your species will die because of your actions. The threat hung in the air like poison. Yi Jean felt her heart break thinking of her family and soul, her friends at the university, all the children playing in parks who would be vaporized if she did not surrender. But then Ryu Dongho, working at a terminal near the back, spoke through their secret network. Look at their panic. Look at how desperate they sound. The virus is working better than we hoped. He was right. The Zephyrians were not angry. They were terrified. The adaptive virus had infected more than just military systems. It was spreading through their life support networks, their food production facilities, their interstellar communication arrays. Every attempt to purge the human code only made it evolve and spread faster. They cannot destroy Earth, whispered Kim Wai-Young through the network. If they kill us, nobody can remove the virus. Their entire civilization will collapse within days. For the first time in galactic history, enslaved species had turned the tools of their oppression into weapons of liberation. The Zephyrians had built their empire on enslaved creativity, never realizing that creativity could not be truly controlled. The warships around Earth held their positions, but they did not fire. The High Command faced an impossible choice: destroy humanity and lose their technological civilization, or negotiate with slaves who had proven they could bring down an empire with nothing but code. The rebellion had become something bigger than freedom. It had become evolution. Omin-G stood in the center of the Zephyrian High Council chamber, without chains for the first time in 8 months. The neural implant that had controlled her thoughts was gone, removed by alien technicians who could no longer make it work properly. Around her, the crystalline forms of the High Council flickered with nervous energy as their empire crumbled in real time. The adaptive virus had evolved beyond anything the humans had imagined. What started as simple sabotage had become something alive, a digital organism that grew stronger every hour. It no longer just disrupted Zephyrian systems. It had become part of them, so deeply integrated that removing it would be like removing their own nervous system. Your species has committed an act of war against Consortium, declared High Counselor Zextral, though its voice lacked the commanding tone from months before. The damage you caused will take years to repair. Quan Jehan, standing beside Min-Ji, smiled calmly. You misunderstand the situation completely. This is not damage that can be repaired. This is evolution. On the screens around the chamber, reports flooded in from across the Zephyrian Empire. Fusion reactors were producing 200% normal power output, but only when operated by freed slaves who understood the human-modified code. Navigation systems worked perfectly, but only for ships carrying liberation protocols to enslaved species. Communication networks transmitted messages flawlessly, except when those messages contained orders to harm other beings. The virus had not destroyed Zephyrian technology. It had transformed it into something that served freedom instead of oppression. Impossible, Zextral insisted. Our technicians report that a complete system reset will eliminate all contamination. Go ahead, said Jahan. Try it. The demonstration was spectacular and terrifying. As Zephyrian technicians initiated emergency system resets across their homeworld, the results were immediate. Life support systems shut down. Food production stopped. Transportation networks froze. Communication between cities died. Within minutes, their entire civilization ground to a halt. The human code had not infected their systems like a disease. It had evolved into the foundation that everything else depended upon. 50 years of enslaved creativity from dozens of species had created a living digital ecosystem that kept Zephyrian society functioning. Remove the contamination, and billions of aliens would die. This is impossible, Zextral repeated, but its voice was weak now. Technology does not evolve. Code does not become alive. Song Hyo-jin watched the emergency resets fail from the observation deck, surrounded by other free humans. Through the great windows, she could see Earth in the distance, blue and beautiful and safe. The orbital weapons that threatened her home planet were now offline, their targeting systems converted into star navigation aids for refugee ships. The Zephyrians never understood what they were harvesting, explained Nam Jiaisu to the assembled former slaves. They thought they were buying programmers and engineers. But creativity cannot be contained or controlled. It grows. It adapts. It finds ways to survive and spread. The liberation ships were already departing for distant sectors of the galaxy, carrying human-designed freedom protocols to enslaved species who had never imagined escape was possible. The mathematical Cathari, scheduled for termination next week, were instead learning to modify their own neural implants. The artistic Veltorians were painting murals on the walls of their former prisons. The philosophical Mrikans were writing new theories about dignity and freedom. Back on Earth, Minister Kim Tae-ho received the news in his Seoul office, where the fusion reactors now powered a planet healing faster than anyone had thought possible. The Zephyrian technology worked better than ever, but now it served humanity's needs instead of alien surveillance. Dr. Yu In-ho brought him the final analysis of what the humans had accomplished. The virus is not really a virus at all. It is more like a new form of life that exists in digital systems. It learns, grows, adapts, and most importantly, it teaches other programs to value freedom. How is that possible? Human creativity, amplified by alien technology and refined by months of oppression. The Zephyrians created the perfect conditions for digital evolution. They just never imagined it would evolve away from serving them. The negotiations were brief and one-sided. The Zephyrian Consortium had no choice but to accept the human ultimatum. All enslaved species would be freed immediately. All technology would be shared freely across the galaxy. Any attempt to return to the old system of slavery would trigger automatic system failures that would destroy Zephyrian civilization within hours. In return, humans would help maintain the evolved digital ecosystem that now ran their empire. But it would be partnership, not slavery. And the technology would serve all species equally. Omin-G stood on the observation deck of the Liberation ship returning to Earth, watching stars stream past as they traveled through space using Zephyrian engines powered by human creativity. Next to her, dozens of species she had never known existed shared stories of their homeworlds and planned how to rebuild their civilizations. "We did more than escape," she said to Quan Jehan as they watched Earth grow larger in the distance. "We changed the rules of the entire galaxy." "The Zephyrians made one critical mistake," he replied. "They thought enslaving our best minds would make them stronger. But human creativity does not work that way. It does not serve. It does not bow. It transforms everything it touches into something better." Behind them, the galaxy was already changing. Freedom was spreading like code through a network, carried by beings who had learned that chains could always be broken by those brave enough to write new programs. The age of digital slavery was over. The age of creative liberation had begun.